And I think that's it. Well, my screen may be frozen, but hello and welcome to Doc and Sifu. Almost got it that time. Doc and Sifu's monthly Pondering, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything, and anything else that may turn up as we go along. And my screen may be frozen, but do not panic, or you might be quite happy with my screen being frozen. But I'm just sharing it out to one or two more groups, just to bring in a few people to for an audience. It might be good to have an audience. You never know. So I'm just sharing it out just one or two more times, and in fact this is the last one. And there you go, and then go and press that button. And although it will help if that wonderful voice took the share off, because at the moment all I can see is the video.
Try him. Can't get the right. Oh, here we go.
Exit share.
So it's actually called News Share. You see, this is what I get for being so cocky. Stop share. There we go.
There you go. Awesome. And we're back, new and improved. Well, I'm new and Doc's improved, or something like that. So Doc, my dear old dragon dog brother, my dear old companion, my brother from another mother. How are you, my friend? And so what has been happening energy-wise? What has been going on, do you think?
Well, as we know, there is an astrological shift taking place in the cosmos. Now, the old Dr. Joe wouldn't have talked like this. But as more and more I'm going along, I'm beginning to see that I led a very, very closed-minded and very narrow viewpoint life when I was just involved in biomedical sciences. And you know my story, and I won't bore the listeners with the story again, but I became very, very unwell. I became addicted to alcohol. I spent years and years with stress, anxiety, depression, panic disorders, and everything else, still trying to apply biomedical solutions to a problem that was fundamentally spiritual. And I didn't understand, I didn't understand that the hole in my soul could not be filled by material things. It could only be filled by practicing spiritual principles. Now, Sifu, I've spent since I was a child practicing martial arts in all sorts of various forms, mostly Kung Fu, different styles of Kung Fu. And I didn't understand what it was about. And the reason I went into the martial arts was because I was frightened. And I thought that if I enhanced and increased my physical prowess, this would take the fear away from me. And in actual fact, it didn't. It actually increased the fear because I seemed to put myself in the firing line more often and became more and more afraid, So I don't know where I'm going with this, but the whole point is, I think I learned about Taoism at an early age, and it almost ignited some sort of former memory in me of past experience with Taoism, but also not just Taoism, but other philosophies in the world that talked about cosmic consciousness. And I also know and feel a lot of understanding to do with the yoga traditions as well, especially Hatha yoga. And what I've learned is that there's more going on, Sifu, than meets the eye. Because as the ancient Kabbalists, and they were the ancient Hebrews, if you like, they talked about the tree of life. And they said that the world we're living in here, this 3D world, is basically only 1% of what's happening in the entire cosmos. But the human thinks it's everything, and the human thinks it's everything as well. Over to you, old chap.
Indeed, and well, opened up a whole set of things to talk about there. But this thing of reality. There's my teachers used to talk about it a lot. Is that there is no limit to your capacity, to how much. I just zoomed the camera in and so you just get more of a shoulder shot. But and that's the thing of reality. You know, most people think, oh, you know, there's only this much space, there's only this much wealth, there's only this much of knowledge, this much power that I'm allowed, and we're sort of encouraged by society or you know, the old ways to think that, but the Taoists and my teachers who were dragon dog shaman, who were barefoot doctors, who were cloud whisperers, who were drunken Taoists, which are all styles of Taoist, all the way, the path, the balance, and they believe that the more you grow, the more you expand, there's more to learn, and you know there is no limit, you know, even to the fact that they would always say is that if we truly knew, if society truly knew, and there's evidence of science in China, in India, and where else? I think it was Russia as well, to like show this. But if people knew that there's actually reincarnation, that you live and die over and over again, and that those memories are there, and you know, so there is no actual end. As such, you know, you move on to the next thing, and even people like Einstein said that energy can't be destroyed; it can only be transformed or transferred. Or your consciousness, you inside here, inside your body, that's listening right now, is energy. It is conscious energy. Everything is energy. We know this like vibration. So where does that conscious go? You know, we think it ends, but it just goes to somewhere else. And we've entered this field of energy. NASA talked about it many back in 2008 to 2010 about this field of energy that the solar planet Earth and all the other planets of our sun were entering, and they knew, and by 2012 they knew that this energy was affecting atoms. It was affecting atoms, and you're made of them. It was affecting the sun, and that radiates down on us. It was affecting everything, and they've watched that, you know, through this process that things have been changing, and it happened. And like in the ancient knowledge, there's a thing, the age of Aquarius is also in line with the golden age, which was actually called the golden race, which is now, it's, you know, it was this period in time that 2012 was the end, the Mayan calendar ended, but what the people who were promoting it forgot to tell you is there's another 8 calendars after that one. It was never the end of everything. It was just the end of that calendar and the starting of a new one. But that starting, there is a bridge. You know, you go through, you know, it's like walking through a door to get to one room to another. You know, there's a bit you go through. Well, in time, when something's 20,000, 26,000 years long, you know, 8 years is like, you know, is a sliver. So this period that we're going through is the doorway, is that change, the upheaval. And, you know, 10 years ago, people have gone, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Boggie. But look what's happening around us. Look, you know, look like, think of now to 5 years ago. Think of now to 10 years ago. Think to us to last year. This time last year, most of us had no idea what was about to happen. I had an inkling, as I've said once or twice, not physically, as in only with details, but I knew energetically something was going to turn us on their head, because that's part of the change, the great change. So as we always do in this show, I'm going to pass the baton back to Doc and let you carry on.
I've stopped pretending now that I don't know, because I do know deep in my heart. I do know at certain levels what I'm talking about, but I've held back. You know, I have held back in almost like a mock humility. But I know that what you've just said there is completely true. It's part of the mind of the universe, or the mind of God. To me, it's all about mind. It's all about a sort of step down process. And we're at the bottom end of this whole process as the physical manifestation and focal point of all these energies and past life experiences as well. So I think me as Joe and you as Paul, you know, we contain all the information and experiences that we've been through for a purpose. you know. And I think that there are people who've also been through loads of different experiences. They have a particular viewpoint and a particular purpose to this lifetime. And I believe that every single person on this planet as a soul is a key to the transformation of the whole planet. We've all got something to do. And we've not known this, but more and more people who've turned their back on this are suddenly turning round now and almost going like, oh my God, I didn't see that. I didn't realize what I was doing. So I feel very positive that even the most intransigent, and I'm not quite sure what that word means, right? Even the most intransigent people, right, are being moved around now by this invisible influence, right, that's happening from the universe down. So, you know, I agree with you. We're in what's called now the transitional point from the Kali Yuga, which is the end point of destruction and chaos and seeming chaos. But it's actually disintegration and disentanglement of systems to be rebuilt in a new way in this golden age, or the Satya Yuga, you know. Yeah. And when you were talking about this transitional corridor, I see that as the birth canal to something better. In fact, as I'm saying this now, I've got a great big swoosh going up my spine, right? But it doesn't happen overnight. It's a transition that happens over time. Some of the more pessimistic say that the transition from Pisces to Aquarius will take at least 150 years. I thought, oh my God, you know, because I sort of wake up hoping to see a greater big sign of transition. And it is happening. But for some reason, Boggie, and I'm not going to get too much into this, for some reason, the main news channels seem to be suppressing the good stuff and just pumping out all the other stuff that keeps people in fear and worry and anxiety and stress and tension. Because I think there are unscrupulous authorities who are completely and utterly trying to keep people in this regulated, controlled, fearful state. Because in that state, as you know, people can't think creatively. And when creativity comes and the heart opens and the soul comes out, they become fearless and they're less easily controlled. What do you think about that? I didn't know I was going to say all that, but there you go. Here it comes.
You know what? That is so synchronistic. Because the things I won't can't necessarily talk about just yet, but right on the verge, there is a new app, a new version of, say, like TikTok or like Facebook appearing. I know the people in the background, and they're setting up right now, hopefully to have it, you know, launch very, very soon. But one of their biggest things, they want to focus on how we help the world, how we create community, how we build and grow together. And as you're saying, it's very, very interesting right now. I'm into lots of different things. So, you know, I do have a foot in the conspiracy stuff. I do have a foot in the spiritual stuff. I have I have lots of feet. I'm a centipede. You know, I listen to a lot of stuff, and there's on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, or on quite a few of them. There are people who are open in one way or another, either open spiritually, open politically, open alternative health-wise, that have suddenly disappeared, have been kicked off. And the reasons they've been told don't make sense. So when you see one or two individual ones, you think, oh, you know, you don't think much of it. But when you look at the bigger picture, when you've got lots of feet in lots of different apps, and you're seeing the bigger picture, and you're seeing that what's happening is they're trying to stop something, you know, whoever they is, you know, Aunt Bessie, that they. And Aunt Bessie, you know, quite likes the way it is. Aunt Bessie likes it the old style, you know, because we have to remember, it may be hell for you, but somebody else thinks this is heaven, you know, and this is the thing you always had, you know, a pig, you know, a pile of manure is poo to you, but to a pig, that's my playground. And that is not technically true, but, you know, pigs are actually quite clean. But, you know, that's the perception, you know, that one person's chi is somebody else's char. And so there are Aunt Bessies out there who like the way it was, and the fact we're trying to change it, or it's changing, they don't particularly like. And especially if those Aunt Bessies happen to be major company holders or make lots of money on certain things and certain products and things in a certain way, those Aunt Bessies, they are quite happy with how it is, and they don't want it to change. Now, you'll get people saying, "Oh, you're making that up, Boggie." But the interesting thing is like 5 years ago, yeah, a lot of people have been saying that. Less people are saying that now because it's becoming more and more apparent, because there's holes starting to appear, like in the Matrix. That cat has gone past about 127 times, and it's like, hold up, that's the same freaking cat. What's going on? And things are falling apart, and more people are waking up. And so for me, with this whole pandemic we've had, is that yes, there is sadness, but there's also a lot of opening. There's a lot of awakening. There's a lot, people are, being forced to see things out the true light. They're being pushed into a corner, and then the Aunt Bessies are trying to hide it. But the more they desperately try to hide it, the more actually they're making it obvious. It's like when our Betty farts in the room and, she's flapping her hand and it's like, what's going on? Why are you doing that? And then and that's what's happening is that Aunt Betty's harping more and more, and she's definitely trying to get rid of the smell, and she's actually showing up more because she's flapping her hand so much. Everybody's actually seeing what's going on, if you get my metaphor.
Oh, I do. That would be not a false flag. That would be a real flag, wouldn't it? It's like you can blame the dog so much, can't you? But in the end, the truth will out. Yeah, I agree entirely with you.
I was just going to say that was a classic in my life. My uncle used to blame they had a dog called Ben, and they used to blame Ben for farting. And then when Ben passed away, he said, "Oh, Ben, he's not here, Uncle. He died. He died." Oh yeah. And then the realization, you've been blaming poor Ben all this. So yeah. Anyway, go back to you, my friend.
I think as well. I think nothing happens by accident. Here's the important thing that I'd like to sort of say tonight is nobody did this to us without our permission at some level. And that's what I realized. I started to get better when I accepted 100% responsibility for attracting all these things towards me. And I see that that's how this works now, that the soul almost projects out an idea of what it wants to learn next. And then the whole stage you've set with all the players for the soul to go through, working through the human body-mind complex that's called Joseph, to go through and experience that. Because the soul needs me just as much as I need the soul, and I think that that's how this works, So the other thing I'm starting to see is just how much these systems are interlinked. For example, the great big food supply chains, credit agencies, banks, online shopping, credit cards. I'm starting to see now that, they all seem to be linked in some way. And if they were unscrupulous, they could start to sort of make people sort of behave in certain ways by threatening them with these things. However, spirituality and marching forward in spirit, it doesn't just mean fighting. In fact, I don't think it means fighting at all. Nothing wrong with defending yourself, because we have to see who started to punch first. It's okay to defend ourselves. But I feel that we as a collective, working through love, we have to start creating new systems based upon sharing and working together. And no monopolies at all, no hierarchies. Every single person is equal. And every single person is a key to improving life on this planet. Good God, I feel like the Pope tonight. In nomine Patris et Filio et Spiritu Tui Sancti. Over to you, Sifu.
Indeed, amen. Very much so. And it's this thing of, community is the way forward. If you want to see star signs, Pisces is about individual, and it was very much all what in the Tai Chi. So the Tai Chi symbol. I've got one here. The Tai Chi symbol. Most people say this is yin yang, but this symbol here, that is actually called Tai Chi. Yin yang is half a white circle, half a black circle, and that means opposing energies, and that's what we come from. This very Piscean energy. It's this versus that, right versus wrong, and that energy needs people who live in that energy, who thrive in that energy, want that energy. So therefore, they will try to encourage things to be like that. So the whole idea of the old age was very warring. They want wars. They want that sort of fighting. They want that I'm right and you're wrong. They want people to choose one way or the other. We're now going into an energy, and the Tai Chi is that this symbol actually moves, it rotates, it turns, and it turns in of itself. And it's sort of like a friendship or two people making love. It's a union. It's a balance of energy, and that in community. So there's a thing called an ancient system called Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is that everybody in that community, whether that community was a village, or a town, or even a country, is that they all work together. They do so much every day. There's certain chores they do, but then the rest of their time is to enjoyment, is to express their natural abilities. And so that thing of working together and working out things together, rather than seeing our differences, which is a bit cliche, but rather than seeing me and Doc's differences, it's finding, well, where's the connection? Where are the things that we relate to? Let's work with them, and then understanding that a difference isn't an issue. A difference doesn't, you have certain viewpoints and want to do certain things. If you like strawberry milkshake and I like banana, why does it matter? It is that we can both have, we can both have both, and we can both every now and again go on to the other side and take that one. There shouldn't be an issue. But there are certain people that make money from more people having strawberry than banana, or people having banana at a certain time of year. And there's people who make money from that. And so those people will want to keep it that way. What's happening, whether they like it or not, the Aunt Bessies of the world, is that the things are changing in a way that they haven't got that choice. They haven't got that chance. It is because we're waking up, and that is a good thing. And so I think there will be more opportunity for things to be more balanced. I think there's more opportunity for people to go, and you said about, spirituality, for me, my teachers would say the problem with the spirituality back in the 60s and 70s, it was too much spiritual and not enough physical, meaning that they were connected with oneness, but they couldn't pay the bills, or somebody attacked them, they got beaten up. In Tai Chi, again, that symbol, in Tai Chi, there is this Tai Chi is actually also a martial art as well, its own art. And in fighting, what they say is using your opponent's energy against them. So when the fist comes in, your hands come in to connect it, and then you guide it out of the way. So rather than block it with all your force, you use your whole body and you guide that out of the way. So what that means is if something attacks you, you go, Boggie way of doing it. You go, thank you very much for that information. I'll take it on board. By the way, did I tell you I love you? I guide that out of the way, then I hit them with a pillow, and the whole idea is that when, and people in that attack, the haters, when I've had haters in the show in the past and comments, I always say, oh, hello you, yes, I love you, thank you so much, I love you, bye, close the door on the way out, love you, And it's when we deal with confrontation in that way, or you're getting angry in yourself, breathe. You know, what the joke people hear a lot in when I teach Qigong is, please breathe. You know, if you turn blue, I can't help you because I'm too far away. I am a first aider, but I'm too far to help you. So please breathe. And breathing affects your emotions. It affects your mindset. It affects your energy. So you know, when you're caught up in a situation of anger and stress, my Sifus would whack 10 tons of shite out of me in certain situations, or put me under pressure to get me to trigger my calmness, my inner calm. And because they did that, because in a fighting situation or in close protection situation, when you can keep calm when everybody else around you is losing their heads, you'll be okay, you know. And this is what we need right now, is do not get too caught up in the illusions, the chaos. Breathe, relax, step back a little bit, physically and metaphysically, and give yourself chance to analyze Doc's wonderful thing of bringing that information to the heart. You know, how does it feel inside here? You know, I do something very similar, where I was taught where if you expand, you're thinking of something, and you expand, then that's a yes. If you're contracting, that's a no, or you know, and try to avoid. Sometimes you can't, and when you can't avoid, go with the flow. You know, just go with it as best you can and get through that situation. And at some point, it's a bit like getting thrown in a big river, a big strong river. Just go relaxed and let yourself float. And sooner or later, when you're relaxed, you'll be pushed against the bank. The river will naturally do that. But when you struggle to get to the side, the water actually pulls you away and it knackers you out, and you can end up drowning. And that metaphor has been used on me before. I've been thrown in a big torrent river and gone, you know, learn to float. And so it's this idea of, you know, learning, you know, now is not the time to fight. Now is not in, you know, that physical of, you know, somebody's attacking me, so I have to attack back. No, that somebody's attacking you. Is it actually physically hurting you? Is it actually, you know, destroying you right now? If it's not, then find another way, you know, take that information on. Just tell them you love them, or say, oh, I have to go now, bye-bye. And don't let it, you know, turn it off so it doesn't affect you. If you draw it in, and this is a hard thing for a lot of people to get, is that the way the universe works is that everything that comes in, you have to accept. So even fear, anger, resentment, and one of the biggest things as a kid, because I was bullied as a kid and you know, tried to commit suicide because of that and other things. And one of the biggest lessons I had to learn with my teachers put me against people that I had a less than 10% chance of beating, because when you invest in loss, or when you invest in the fact that, hold up, if I say, oh, I'm going to lose, but I say there's a way around this, you know, or at least I just go with the flow, I just relax and let them hit me and learn techniques that they hit me, they fall down knackered, and I'm still standing, and I've done that before, physically and metaphysically. But it's learning that when you start having an attitude that I'm not going to accept this, I'm not accepting that fear. Boggie the Ghostbuster, that's what happened with me. We've gone to haunted houses and gone to like the FBI, not FBI, sorry, the KGB prison in Russia. And before I walked in there were things throwing about, and it was the normal, scary, horrible stuff. I walk in there, everything goes quiet. Everything stops. And it freaked out the guards. And I've been to haunted houses that they're going, but it's always happening. And it's because it's like saying, I do not need, in my field, in my energy, I do not need anything that doesn't help me grow. If it doesn't help me grow, so I'm not saying I don't want negative stuff, but if it doesn't help me grow, I don't need it. And it doesn't enter. And so therefore, you start to learn that you actually are in power. But the problem is that people, oh, yeah, but you're saying, oh, look, victim mentality, oh, it's my fault. And so, no, you have to understand that by taking your own power, you become stronger. By taking your own power and taking that, actually understanding on the bigger frame, everything that happens because we've accepted it a long time before. It's a learning process. It is a lesson, and everything that happened to you all in the past, were lessons. And and I've known people who got through rape and all. In actual fact, please forgive me. I know her surname's Black. I think it was Susan, but I could be wrong. But a guest last year, she came on, and she's well known in society. She was gang raped, and she actually she'll actually say that not only did she accept that in some ways this was something that meant to happen, but she grew from it. She actually forgave the people that did it, because by forgiving them, she could let go. It's not about forgiving them for any other reason, but it's about by letting that go, letting go and forgiving herself and that situation. So forgiving them is actually about forgiving it happening, forgiving that she went in there because, and the thing I try to say is, when these things happen, if you're still here, you're a warrior. You are a superhero. You are powerful because you survived. And somebody today said, they don't like the word survival because of the energy. You'll always be surviving, and they're right. But it's trying to get into your head that you are, if you're still here after everything that's happened, people who've been in concentration camps, back in World War II and all through that, the one thing they say is, I'm still here, I'm alive. And they held that, and that stuck in my head that, that if you can get through whatever you've been through, you are far powerful. You are far powerful than you think. And you're also far powerful than them, because they try to control and manipulate you. And that's what, in these sort of situations, it's actually all about power. They're trying to control that narrative. They're controlling you for certain things, whatever that thing is. But if you can get through that, and not only get through that, become stronger after it, you are far more powerful than them. And you are far more powerful. You've learnt from that information. What do you think, bro?
I couldn't agree more. Can you just go over that from the beginning?
Do I have to?
No, stop now.
I can't remember what I said.
I agree. I was bullied as a kid. I was frightened. I was always intimidated by men, always being intimidated by men. I grew up to be 6 foot tall and, with a few black belts in martial arts and things like that. I was still the same on the inside, And I've practiced a lot of sort of energy techniques and stuff like that, but it's also been external physical thing, done lots of weightlifting, lots of toning, all that. But it didn't fill the hole in my soul that needed to be filled with spiritual principles. Call it Jing, Qi, Shen, call it different aspects and different dimensions of energy. Doesn't matter. I understand now, through letting go and learning to let go of the tension, that something else can fill us up from the inside. And once we feel fulfilled, and the Latin for that is satisfied, satis means to be fulfilled, right? Once we're satisfied with ourselves, the need to fight, the need to defend, the need to all that just disappears. It's gone from me. I don't want to fight anybody anymore, If anybody picks on me, I'm like, I joke with them, oh, go on, mate, you'll turn me into mincemeat, go on, you're the winner, well done, go away, I hardly ever feel tense on the inside anymore, Sifu, and that's because I've learned now that it was never about fighting. It was all about forgiveness. I've had my ribs broken, my nose broken, and everything. Gangs have beaten me up when I was drunk and all that sort of thing. I've had all that. I've ended up in hospital many times in casualty. I've got stitches all over the place, I don't remember a lot of this stuff. But the point is, when I came round, I wanted to take a baseball bat to them and all. I never would have done it. This was just my mind sort of trying to get back, you know. And I realise now today is I was carrying that resentment over them. And when I forgive things from the past, it's me that lets go and lets them. It's called live and let live. Let them go. Let them get on with it. Because I know that in the great scheme of things, that divine retribution will find a way to balance out their karma. However, I might have been one of the perpetrators. Yeah, I agree. I could have been one of the perpetrators previously, so they may be just balancing the karma out. I don't even try and work it out anymore, Boggie. I just think, okay, I can feel a grip here, call it a trigger. What are you trying to show me? Let it go. Okay, move on. And that's my life now. And I'm relatively calm, even in the most chaotic circumstances. That's a miracle, because I was always emotionally sensitive. I was always emotionally reactive. I was brilliant at manipulating other people so I could control them to get my own peace of mind. And I realize today, true peace of mind comes from when you just let go of everything and just focus on yourself and your own life and stuff like that, you know. I mean, there's lots and lots of things happen to me. This is a good training and testing ground for me at the moment with all the chaos, because there's so much stuff coming at me at the moment. There's no doubt about it that the information that's coming in, whether it be photons, phonons, protons, and all sorts of vibrations coming in from the cosmos, it doesn't matter. This is about me enhancing my processing capabilities to just think one thing through at a time, and then decide what action I want to take based upon all the information I've got, really. And how do I decide what action to take? I go into my heart, I tap on my heart, and I basically say, please show me the best way forward. So I'm relying on my higher self, my higher intelligence, to give me a little touch on, turn left, Joe, and all will be well. I know it's not something outside of myself. It's something inside of myself, and I'm part of that great big picture. Over to you, old fruit.
Okie doke, bloke. And yeah, I mean, one thing to go back a little bit, because you actually said it before and I forgot, was the thing with martial arts is that martial arts everything has been altered and twisted. Aunt Betty did a good job. And martial arts, people hear martial arts and think, oh, it's all about fighting. Martial arts, the great Bruce Lee said, martial arts is personal development. Martial arts is about understanding about oneself. And the true, hence, martial is the strategy, it is the military, it's the organisation, it's doing things in a certain way. The art is the flowing, so in the masculine and the feminine coming together. Martial art, a form of Tai Chi, you know, that symbol again. And in martial arts, there is what's called the 3Ms. You have martial, medical, and meditational. And what happened, what I learned from the hard martial arts, so like karate, taekwondo, certain parts of kung fu, when it came to the West, is that certain things, some of the younger teachers or the students go, oh, I don't like all the spiritual stuff, oh, I don't like that, or this healing, what's it, oh, I don't like that. And they focused on the fighting side. And when you focus on one thing, it's like, think of like a Jenga. When you keep taking from one side, sooner or later that's going to topple over because you're weakening the structure. But when you, make things even, you build a Jenga all on one side, it's going to topple over. But when you build it a certain way, you make it sturdy, make it balanced. And what was like, so for example, what I started seeing back in the 90s is that martial art kids that started off at 9 years old, where it was taekwondo or karate, whatever, they were getting up to 20 and they had hip problems, they had knee problems, they had shoulder problems, and they had to give up. And I was realizing, for my teachers made it, no, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do. And they really focused on the healing side. In fact, they had a corny saying, before you can learn to kill, you must learn to heal. And there was a very much focus, but also there's a third one that It's from the key. So you've got the fighting side, which is also physical fitness, which is one end, martial or fitness. Then you've got the medical, so healing of self and others. But there's also meditational. Meditational is the bit that fits in the middle. It balances it together. It brings that unity. And I realised, so from martial arts, I realised this, but I realised that this principle of mind, body, spirit, of martial, medical, meditational, also the divine masculine, which is getting things done and sorting things out in the logic, and the divine feminine, which is making them, keeping them going, and the intuitive, and, and finding ways to flow. When you don't have all those aspects in everything you do, not just martial arts, I'm talking about businesses, I'm talking about education. When you don't have everything in there, you lose. It will fall apart. It will break up. And one of the things I think I said on another show was the fact that with our society, we've got so into being adults, we forgot that the child is always there. And like when you're a child, you read out loud and they say, oh, no, you've got to stop doing that. And you're guiding the book with your finger, oh, yeah, you've got to stop doing that. And you're playing with imaginary friends, oh, yeah, you've got to stop doing that. And it's like, well, all those things actually were never meant to be taken away. They ought to, but they never meant to take away. In advanced learning techniques, actually using your finger or a pencil to do speed reading is how you actually find your tempo, and you learn massive amounts of information instead of doing one word at a time. Talking out loud for some people, the audio is actually a great way for them to learn, and those, don't talk to yourself, you're mad. Actually going through talking to yourself is a process. It allows you to analyze what you're thinking and you're saying, and you're transferring that information. You're giving yourself another. When you do it right in the head, that mucks around with the 90,000 thoughts we have. But when you talk out loud, that's the biggest voice you hear, and you get to go, oh, actually, that doesn't make sense, or I need to redo that. So all these things we did as a kid were never meant to be tampered with. The whole imaginary thing, oh, fairies don't exist. Well, not what I've been told, by certain alphabet agencies in America, Aunt Betty's neighbours, that I once joked about, oh, when are you going to admit that the Yeti, the fairies, and the Yeti, the fairy, and the unicorn, when are you going to admit that they exist? Sort of being slightly funny. I heard that the legends were true, and I've seen things that definitely look like a unicorn, a Yeti, and fairies in my time. And they said, yes, we're fully aware of the at the time, I think they said 11 dimensions. Not so far ago, just this year, NASA actually said there's 14 other dimensions that they detected that are similar to ours, meaning has life, has some sort of, is interactive. It's not just, oh, it's just energy, it's just there. That dimension seems to have, and it's now putting more to the M theory, the multiverse theory, that all realities are all playing out all at once, which goes back into the dragon dogs, the old Taoist culture of the dragon dogs. They talk that all realities, the past, present, and the future, are all happening all at once, because your consciousness is actually so big, it can do all those lives all at the same time. And that's probably another thing for another show, but it's this whole thing of there's so much more out there, there's so much more, and all you've got to do is actually open your mind. It's like people, oh, Boggie, you're always funny, you're always laughing, you're always being silly, because I never allowed myself to grow up. And growing up, I saw as a swear word. When people said, oh, Boggie, you're weird, I've always taken that as a compliment, because I always say normal is the average of weird, because that's so many people trying to fit into a certain paradigm. And you're meant to be unique. You're meant to be, yes, you have similarities to everybody. in one way or another. But you're also meant to be unique. You're meant to be able to play. You're meant to be able to go about and do different stuff. And it's okay. It's not a problem. We've got to get out of this thing of you've got to be this, you've got to be that, you've got to be one, you've got to be the other, or you're different to me, and I've got a problem with that, and that, and that's that. We've got to get out of this, and we've got to find ways to go. Well, okay, you want to have strawberries, you have them over there. I'll have my bananas over here. We've got to find some way to actually find our similarities, not our differences, and find ways to work things out, because it is possible. Everything is possible. There are so many ideas and inventions that won't happen yet, that are sitting there waiting to happen because certain people say, oh, we're not ready for it because of this and because of that and the other. And it's time for us to actually, go, no, we are ready. We do want to do this. I've got this great philosophy of, if you don't like the land you're living in, find a new land. Go and find somewhere else. Go and move. Yes, that can take resources. Yes, that can take a big lot of planning. Yes, members of the family might not want to move and not quite happy where you are. I never said it was easy, but there are ways. You're never stuck. There's always ways to grow. There's always ways to flow. There's always ways to expand. But as any good Taoist should say, hey, what do I know?
I think that you pretend that you don't know because you're like me. We mess about a lot, you and me, but I can sense in you the same sort of energy, that there's a deeply, deeply, deeply serious part of us, And I know that I can look after myself now at depth. I know that. So what? Big deal, But I feel confident in myself all the way through, And what comes to me more and more is that we're all made of the same substance, and that is love, And what does that mean? It means this computer, this table is all made of atoms. And then we go into, well, what are the atoms made of? Well, they contain neutrons, protons, and electrons. Well, what are they made out of? Well, a proton's made out of 2 quarks up and 1 quark down. Well, what are quarks made out of? And we go on infinitum then up to the so-called God particle, but it can't be a particle, because if it's a particle, right, it's not a wave anymore. So it depends how you look at it. And then me, I go, shut up. But this is what I think, diamond dog shamanism is about, right? It's really all about working in those quantum dimensions, but from the heart of hearts, you see, because I think self-mastery is the ability to call on each of those dimensions when required to bring in a certain skill and intelligence that's relevant to that particular moment in time. And because there is no time in the now, is there, and that's what infinity means to me. Eternity means that there's no time, there's no past or present, there's no past or future, there's only now. How can you learn to get into that now moment, as they call it, or that 0 point? Boggie, you put your hands on your heart like that, right? And you bring in a feeling of loveliness. It's called cultivating an inner smile, And that I've spent a lot of time studying the works of Master Mantak Chia, like you have, and the fusion of the 5 elements and bone marrow nei kung and storing chi and chi massage, probably in different words than you've used, but we've been guided along the similar systems, Yeah. And even Kase nei Tsang, right? And becoming comfortable in your own skin, especially with the bits under your belt as well, because Aunt Bessie might have frowned upon anybody, understanding all that, because that were really the seat of true creative power comes from. Call it the hara, call it the dantian, call it the pubococcygeal and sacral plexuses, call it what you like. If people get you to suppress that energy because it's being told it's evil and it's bad, then that causes many, many problems, you know. And unless you can love your body, smelly bits and all, and be completely uncomfortable with it, I don't think you can be free. Because to me, if you can get that sacred sacral energy past your sacrum, right, and up into this middle channel to activate all these other parts of you, right, I think that that's what Ascension's all about. It's when your lights go on in all the cells, in all those departments, then understanding comes in, you know. So it's about loving yourself and every single cell, every single organ, because each of those, when working in harmony, will bring you what you've always looked for, and that's full freedom, you know. And you know that there's a lesser enlightenment and a greater enlightenment as well. And the lesser enlightenment is a head trip. It's just an understanding from the head. But the greater enlightenment comes when you get the head. I've got a big thing going up my spine again now. When you get the head out of the way and the soul and the light body embodies itself through the bone marrow and into every single cell of this physical body. That's what I think's happening, Sifu. And I think you and I and people like ourselves, we can help people to get out of the way and forget their little selves and allow the big mind, big self to come through. That's when I think the true healing on the planet will take place. And it will be through things like this. Because I know, and I've developed with a friend of mine, another Sifu Dave McCarthy, we've developed a Qigong and Tai Chi technique called Fu Shen, Tai Chi, Qigong. And Fu Shen is the Chinese god of happiness and joy. And it's all based upon that inner smile radiating outwards. It's a very, very simple technique. It works on growing the heart, bringing the energy of the universal heart into the physical heart, breathing it in and breathing it back out again in an infinity symbol, you know. So we've developed this very simple technique. I might put it up on a video one of these days, and it's very simple. It just, you know, and there's a grounding element to it as well. As we fill the heart up, then we go into Mother Earth, scoop up. It's a bit like the 8 pieces of brocade, you know, the 8 pieces of silk, you know. So there's those energies and stuff. So if I can, I'll knock up a video, or maybe Dave will do it. And if we can get loads of people doing it together, the time is right now where the energy will come in and it will guide them individually. Just to say, I am also sort of promoting, if you like, if that's the right word, a new word for politics of the future. You know, it's about individual, right? It's about collective individuality where everybody is allowed to be completely themselves. But where do they get their choices from? Soulocracy. So democracy is dead because we can't trust the politicians in power. So soulocracy means working not only from conscientiousness, but also conscientiousness as well. So it's allowing the soul to pick the decisions for us. And then I really feel that everything else will fall into place. I didn't know I was going to say all this tonight. I'm obviously on one. But, you know, I think that we're going forward in a surfing way now. I can see the wave coming. We're all up there now learning how to surf. And everything's going to be all right. Your go.
Okay. Actually, funny you should mention Fu Shen, because Fu Shen has always been originally a Taoist reader, probably many, many years ago, said about, Fu Shen smiles on you and the energy. And I've had a couple of psychics, and there's some he sort of, I thought he was Buddha, but he's not Buddha, but he's really happy, and he's sort of like you. He sort of keeps smiling at me, and he said, Fu Shen, and I've had that a couple of times, and it's, the Fu Shen energy is, you know, a lot of people nickname me Kung Fu Panda, and it's that sort of, you know, it is that, you know, being jolly, and that's that thing of, you know, overcoming things. Well, you sort of mentioned about the fighting, and one of the biggest things I've done is being a comedian, being silly, and making all the people around them, all his, like that bloke trying to fight me, all his friends burst out laughing, and then it dissipates because he goes, oh, I can't fight him anymore because everybody's laughing. And it's like, the energy of Fu Shen is now. It is that energy of now opening up the heart, being that loving energy. And I just, because we want to wrap up now as well, but very much also it's like, it's something I was trained in, and it's a bit like martial arts. The Taoist yoga, tantric Taoist yoga is actually something that's really important. It's very powerful and really important. But like martial arts, where they thought it was all about fighting, they think tantric sex is all about sex. And they think Taoist sexual yoga is all about sex. That's the cherry on top of the cake. It's actually about opening up. Through that you can heal. Through that you can open up your mind, body, and spirit. And people talk about Kundalini. Well, you actually need the thrusting channel, the pillar of light, the Jedi as well. Those two energies need to be activated, not just the fire, because if you just have fire, you burn the house down. If you have fire and water, you'll put on the kettle and you'll make a nice cup of tea or coffee. So, you need the both, you need the two. So that's maybe a thing for another time. But, Taoist yoga is something I've always done and always taught, but it is the future. It's definitely something that I will go into. Well, Mantak Chia he's definitely the forerunner on that. He's talked about it for a long time. But lots of people turn, these Aunt Bessies have been corrupting that energy and making you think it's naughty, it's bad, it's this. And if one thing I've learned is if the Aunt Bessies in the world are telling you it's wrong, have a look at it. If they're saying don't look over there, have a look. If they're saying, ignore this over here, and don't do this, or take this, you must take this, you've got to take this. Have a think, and that's what we need to do. We need to wake the puck up. I said puck. Wake the puck up. We need to wake up and stop following like we used to. Going with the flow is good, but don't follow. Find your flow. Look at the individual stuff first. Look at the stuff. As Doc says, feel the heart. Does it feel right? And there's nothing wrong with being in 3 camps at once. There's nothing wrong with flowing in individual ways. Like I say, there's I keep hinting at it. I'm planting that thing now, but there's an app. There's a new network coming up that will be more like that. They will want people to find their tribe and find their vibe, and that vibe, finding the right vibe, finding that tribe, those people that connect with. You can have different people about different things, and that's all good. And that's the sort of networks I want to be part of. That's the sort of networks I want to promote. That's the sort of community I want to be part of and promote. So that's it really for me on that. Is there anything you want to say, my dear Doc, before we wrap up?
Finally, if you're open and flowing, just keep going. That's it. And that's the only guide I've got now. If your heart's open and you're flowing, just keep going, because you're definitely, in my view, on the right path. And if you're not, take a step back, sit down, take a breath in, tap on your heart and say, please show me the direction that I need to go next. And then wait for the movement, follow the instruction, and off you go again. It really, really is that simple. Yeah. And sometimes it's simple, but it's not easy sometimes. Boggie, I love you, mate. You're a good man. It's lovely to see you again. And you want to mention something about the Freedom Network?
Yes, thank you for reminding me, my friend. So, just for those out there who love the wonderful, the awesome Shanine Moolan and the Freedom Network, if you think it's gone quiet, talking about Aunt Bessie, for some reason, Aunt Bessie has locked Shanine Moolan out. Shanine Moolan. She's locked her out of the cupboard, and well, lots are in the cupboard. She can't get out. So for some reason, Shanine's been blocked. So what she's doing, and it looks like it's going to take a while to get her back on. So she's on YouTube. So if you look up the Freedom Network on YouTube, I'll make sure the link is on here shortly once I get off. But the Freedom Network is still on YouTube. She's on there, so she's going to continue doing the shows on there. She'll still be there. I will, and others will when they're on, we'll share them out or here on Facebook. But she hasn't disappeared. She's just over there. That's where she's gone because, and there's a couple of spiritual people I know that suddenly disappeared. And it's like, what's happened to them? So, whatever Aunt Betty is doing, she's obviously cooking up something. But always remember, we're never gone. We just may have moved somewhere else. And hopefully there'll be somebody like me to tell you that. So if I disappear or if Doc disappears, I don't know, maybe I'll set up flag signals or something, or I'll burn down Facebook. Well, actually, that's just Boggie. You shouldn't say that. That will get you kicked off. So, guys, that has been great pleasure to see you. Doc, it's always awesome to see you here. And the wonderful voice in the sky, the wonderful Ria, when you're ready, we're ready to go. So, from us, it's goodbye from him.
And goodbye from him.
And goodbye, love, chi, and shed.